What's up, everybody? How we doing? It is Friday. We finally made it. I like Friday, even though I work multiple jobs on Friday. But who's counting? It's the weekend. Anyway, we're talking football, and more football. We'll squeeze in a little bit of baseball and a little bit of boxing. That's right. We talk about everything here. Not just football, not just baseball. We talk about everything. Anything that's happening in the sports world. That's why you come to the Dave Talk Sports podcast. And I am your host, Dave Ettinger. Right here on episode number 32 of the Dave Talk Sports podcast. You can find me on YouTube. This is the Dave Talk Sports YouTube channel. And right here, please subscribe. Get all my videos, all my opinions, all my screaming, all my yelling, all my emotion. I know yesterday I maybe went a little overboard. I was upset with the Yankees. I'm still upset with the Yankees. But hopefully I can come back down to earth and I can realize, as I mentioned yesterday, they are nearly 30 games over 500 and they can't win the World Series. Anyway, we talked enough about that. And yes, really, really quickly, the Mets have won another baseball game. I'm aware, 7 in a row. I don't care. They're playing bad teams. When they play real teams, you'll see what happens. Anyway, football. Michael Thomas is his name. Tell me if you know who he is. No? All right, well, he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's, all right, massive bus, massive truck. I'm just going to stop in the middle of the road, let them go by, and then I can make my left because they win, I lose. You know, every once in a while, you join me for some escapades on the way home. Of course, you join me on my commute home from CBS Sports Radio Network in Manhattan, downtown Manhattan, to where I live on Long Island. And it's an interesting commute sometimes. Sometimes we get caught up in the middle of an intersection. Sometimes we almost get run off the road. Sometimes we get sandwiched in between a bus and a truck, like it just happened about 30 seconds ago. But we make it home safely because I got to get home safely so I can talk to you guys. That's right. Anyway, Michael Thomas, probably the best receiver in the NFL that you don't know about. He plays for the Saints, and he, outside of Alvin Kamara and obviously the arm of Drew Brees, he's a very vital part of their offense. So while Michael Thomas was a part of the holdouts in the NFL, the major holdouts that we talked about last week, that holdout didn't last very long. And of all that list that we talked about, right? Jadeveon Clowney holding out for a little bit of a different reason, Michael Thomas, Melvin Gordon, Zeke Elliott, all these different people, everyone's still holding out except for Michael Thomas. Now, Michael Thomas actually has the most receptions of any receiver in the history of the NFL through his first 3 seasons in the league. That's how good he's been. Well, he only had, he had 9 touchdowns last season. Still pretty good, right? And maybe he's not going to give you 16, 15 touchdowns a year, but he is as reliable as they come. So far in his career, he's been healthy. Like I mentioned, more receptions than any receiver in their first 3 years in the history of the NFL. And how many of you know him? Do you know him as much as you know OBJ? Freaking toolbox. I can't stand Odell Beckham Jr. I wasn't planning on talking about him today, but when you talk about the best receivers in football, that's part of the conversation. Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones, doesn't really score all that many touchdowns for a guy who leads the league in receiving last year. He's really talented, plays with a great quarterback. For whatever reason, he's a big guy too physically, but for whatever reason doesn't find the end zone nearly as much as a guy like, say, DeAndre Hopkins, who I personally think is the best receiver in the NFL. When you go through an entire season, you do not drop a single pass. Yeah, you're the best receiver in the NFL. Plus, he had double-digit touchdowns. Listen, he's played in 2 less seasons than Julio Jones and only has 4 less touchdown catches. It's a big deal. It's a big difference. So he's averaging just over 10 touchdowns per year in his career. Now, you can still talk about Antonio Brown. The guy had 15 touchdowns last year, but he's in a new system. He's a year older. He has had some injuries, and he's playing with a lesser quarterback in Derek Carr on a lesser team in the Raiders than he did with the Steelers. You know, playing with Le'Veon Bell when they were both healthy and on the field. And okay, Juju Smith-Schuster is turning into a nice receiver, but he's not in the elite conversation yet. You know, then you get to a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., and he might be the most talented, the most athletic, the most skilled of any of the guys that we're talking about. But you got to be on the field. All right, and I say this all the time, and I don't care what sport it is. I don't care what position you play. You could be the kicker for all I care. You could be the punter. I don't care. Right? We're talking about the Steelers. I remember years ago when I was a kid, Cordell Stewart was in a game, generally known as a quarterback, is the backup punter also on his team, and the punter gets hurt. You don't see that every day. But he ended up punting for the rest of that game, and it didn't do that bad of a job. I don't remember his average punts for that game, but it was interesting. Now, we're all over the map today. I didn't know I was going to be talking about Cordell Stewart punting. I didn't know I was going to be talking about all sorts of things on the Dave Talk Sports podcast, episode number 32. You can find it right here on YouTube, the Dave Talk Sports YouTube channel. Please subscribe, leave your comments below. We appreciate it all. You can also find me on Twitter at Dave Ettinger2, and I usually post the video of the day on Twitter when I get home. And I always appreciate you guys listening, watching, and following along. So, Michael Thomas, let's actually get to the contract. That's what we're talking about. He's now the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL and in NFL history. $100 million will kick in after his final year, this upcoming season, of his rookie deal. He's set to make $1.6 million in the final year of his rookie deal, but now once he gets that signing bonus, the deal kicks in. It's going to turn into a $100 million contract extension with $61 million guaranteed. Again, it would be nice if contracts were fully guaranteed in football as they are in basketball and baseball, but they're not. But for now, I think he'll take the 61%, 61 million guaranteed. Now, to the other holdout that's heading in the exact opposite direction of this one, Melvin Gordon. We've talked about Melvin Gordon before. And we're not moving because I'm stuck behind the same garbage truck I was stuck behind yesterday. I think it's time to find a new route home because this is not working for me. I need to go home and go to sleep because I have to be at one of my other jobs in 2.5 hours. Again, who's counting? So, Melvin Gordon, I told you already, also dealt with some injuries in his early career. You got to be on the field. That is priority number 1. Number 2, all right, he's very, very good, not elite. He's not Le'Veon Bell. He's not Todd Gurley when healthy. He's not David Johnson when healthy. And he's not even Ezekiel Elliott when healthy. He's very solid. Give you 40 catches. Give you 1,000 yards. Give you 9 touchdowns. It's very nice. It's very, very good. Top 10 running back in the NFL, without question. Just not elite. Now, here's the problem that I have. You're set to make between $5 and $6 million a year. Okay. You feel you deserve more. You feel like as a running back in the NFL, the average career lifespan of a running back is less than 4 years, so you want to get paid. Not a lot of good running backs get to their second contract after that rookie deal. I get that. I side with the player, but you also have to be able to look in the mirror and say, all right, I'm set to make between $5 and $6 million a year. The Chargers reportedly offered me multiple years at $10 million a year. What more are you looking for, Melvin Gordon? Seriously. Are you smoking something? Have you been sipping on the liquor? Is there some part of this delusional mindset that you can explain to us? You're very good at your job. You're very, very good at your job. You're top 10 at your position in the NFL. All right, I'm going around this garbage truck. We're going to bang it right here. Can't sit behind this guy anymore. There we go. Now we got guys loading things onto a truck. Let's see who I can run over to get out of my way. Excuse me, sir. This guy's just standing in the middle of the road. Yep, hi. How are you? Yeah, don't mind me. Just driving a car here. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy my ridiculousness driving through Manhattan. Anyway, Melvin Gordon. What I really, seriously don't understand. What more do you want? Do you not like it in LA? I mean, because that's bizarre. Do you not like being on the Chargers, who are top 4, 5, or 6 at a playoff team every year in the AFC, as long as Phillip Rivers is still there? I mean, they got some serious defensive talent. I mean, this is a good, solid team. Now, anyone who with a brain knew they weren't going to beat the Patriots in the playoffs last year. I don't know why people jumped on that bandwagon, but this is a perennial playoff team. They just offered you $10 million a year for multiple years. No exact contract details out there, but what more do you want? So Melvin Gordon confuses the hell out of me. Really happy for Michael Thomas. He deserves it, and maybe you'll get to know him now. And that moves us to our last football story before we get to a little baseball and a little boxing to round things out here. So the Miami Dolphins are bad. They're going to be very bad. I can't tell you exactly how many games they're going to win, but their over-under in Vegas is 4.5. It's the lowest of any team in the NFL. So the experts, Vegas, people around the league, they know this team is going to be very bad. Winning 5 games would be a success. Now, it's hard to only win 1, 2, or 3, or even 4 games, even if you're really bad. It's really hard to do what the Cleveland Browns did the last 2 years before this past season, where they were almost 500. Going 0-16 and 1-15 in back-to-back seasons, it's almost like you have to try to tank to be that bad. So, are the Dolphins only going to win 3 games? I don't know. But the fact that you trade for Josh Rosen, who was the 10th overall pick 2 years ago, 2 drafts ago, he played last year in his rookie season a couple games with the Cardinals. But the Cardinals were, I'd have to look at all the records, I think that they were the worst team in the league. They're very bad. Don't quote me on that, but they were very bad. Now, David Johnson's not the same guy. He's banged up. Outside of Larry Fitzgerald, who's 100, they don't really have, a top elite or a very good receiver. They just don't. The defense is not very good. A couple select players, but they're just not a good football team. So you throw Josh Rosen out there, especially they have behind a bad offensive line, and the guy looks really bad. He looks lost. He looks unprepared. He looks like he's not ready. But is that 100% his fault? A, it's his rookie season. B, he's playing on essentially the worst team in the NFL. And they ship him out of town because they were the worst team. Sorry, I don't know why I'm an idiot. They had the number 1 pick in the draft and drafted Kyler Murray. Clearly, they were the worst team in the league. So, I have a lapse of judgment every once in a while. It's 6:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, August 2nd. A little tired. Don't want to make excuses, but every once in a while you say things that don't make any sense. Sleep deprivation leads to stupidity. If you don't believe me, try not sleeping more than 4 hours a night for a couple years, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's re-enter the brain, get back to what we were talking about. So, the Cardinals give up on Josh Rosen. Fine, that's what you want to do because you think Kyler Murray is your franchise quarterback, that's fine. So So he goes to Miami. Now let's talk about the Dolphins. We already talked about them. They're going to be very bad, and that's because their two quarterback options are Josh Rosen and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yes, that same Ryan Fitzpatrick who's been on seemingly 1,900 teams in the NFL throughout his career. He's a Harvard guy, so he's wicked smart. He's a little bit tough. He's got a crazy beard. He wears crazy outfits sometimes. He's kind of funny, but he's the most inconsistent. Let's put it this way. He's consistently the most inconsistent quarterback in the NFL. Literally week 1, he could give you, like he did last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a not great football team, 417 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then, just a couple weeks later, he can give you 5 interceptions. That is Ryan Fitzpatrick in a nutshell. 1 week he's giving you 4 touchdowns. The next week he's giving you 5 interceptions. So we already know, as the ultimate journeyman quarterback that Ryan Fitzpatrick is, we already know who he is. So what? And you already know the Dolphins are going to be bad. It's not like you think he can compete and he can win you some games. They're not going anywhere. So what is the point? What is the purpose of playing Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback to start the season? You might think Josh Rosen is not that good, but what the hell did you trade him for? Trade for him for? I know you didn't give up, first round pick for him. I think it was a 3rd round pick, but you traded for him. Obviously, you think something of him. He was a top 10 pick in the draft out of UCLA. Put the guy in the field. Put the guy in the field. You're going to be bad anyway. Sometimes you learn a lot more. Not sometimes. You learn a lot more on the field than you do on the bench. Especially, it's one thing if you're learning from Peyton Manning or learning from Tom Brady, and then they pass you the torch after 1 or 2 seasons. You know, learn from Ryan Fitzpatrick? Come on, man. We know what Ryan Fitzpatrick is. I don't know how much you're going to learn from that. Put Josh Rosen on the field. And Brian Flores, the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, told us, I believe it was 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, that Ryan Fitzpatrick is leading the quarterback competition in Miami. What quarterback competition? It shouldn't be a competition. Put Josh Rosen on the field. That's why you traded for him. End of story. All right. Lastly, with a couple minutes that I have left, Canelo Alvarez, a Mexican-born boxer who is one of the best pound-for-pound boxers in the world. His only loss in his career is to Floyd Mayweather Jr., and he has 2 draws on his record, and I believe he has 51 wins. Also, don't quote me on that, but I think he's 51, 1-2. All right, signed this insane, $300 million contract with DAZN for boxing, and he's also promoted by Oscar De La Hoya, fellow Mexican boxers, one of the best of all time, very tough boxer, and now he does the promoting for Golden Boy Promotions. Usually outspoken, not afraid to say what he wants to say. So anyway, Canelo was actually stripped of his IBF Middleweight Championship belt. Now, he acquired that belt by beating Danny Jacobs. Okay. Now, he was set to fight a boxer named Sergey. I can't pronounce his last name, but I'm going to try. Davidchenko, something in that realm. My apologies, sir, if you ever see this or hear this. I hope I pronounced that right. So the problem is that while they were offered, Sergey's people, and Sergey was offered an exorbitant amount of money, more than he's ever seen in a single fight in his life, they felt that it wasn't enough. It's a championship bout. They deserved more money. So they and Canelo / Oscar De La Hoya couldn't come to terms on, how much they were going to earn. How much of the prize he was going to earn. How much money he was going to bring home from this fight. And when you fight Canelo Alvarez, you deserve a lot of money. I get that. But take the money. Just take the money. Now you have, because this fight ends up not happening. And as I mentioned, Canelo's belt is being stripped because it took too long for him to get this fight, which is mandatory. This fight is mandatory. He must defend his title. And this is the number one contender, so he has to defend his title. And because it's taking too long to schedule something, they just stripped him of his belt. Oscar De La Hoya is going to pursue this legally because he thinks this is ridiculous. I don't know what chance he has because this is kind of letter of the law thing there with the IBF, but I personally think it's really bad taste. I don't get why you do that. I mean, this is one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name in sports right now. Why do that? You don't want him to then make you money? You don't want him to promote the IBF and fight for the IBF title? You'd rather have him vacate his belt? I really don't get it. I don't watch a lot of boxing anymore because it's not the same sport it used to be. There's no true great heavyweights anymore. I mean, I don't want to watch the Michelin Man or whatever that guy is who's now the heavyweight champ. I don't want to watch him box. Let him get in shape first, then I'll watch him box. I don't need boxing right now, but it still interests me, and Canelo is actually my favorite fighter. So I just don't get this. I really don't get it. It's just, you got rules, but it's a stupid rule. It's just stupid. So, as I proved today, I'm stupid. I'm tired. Therefore, I'm stupid. And on that note, this has been 21 minutes and 48 seconds of the Dave Talk Sports podcast. Hope you've enjoyed this, episode number 32. I'm your host, Dave Ettinger. I work at CBS Sports Radio Network. I'm almost home. It's 6:41. I got to go to sleep. So, on that note, see ya. I missed the button again. See ya.